So a massive trove of documents just dropped, and it's pulling back the curtain on a world of power that most of us, well, we never get to see. And out of all this new information, a new term has started to pop up to describe the people in that world, the Epstein class. Today, we're going to break down exactly what that means. We'll look at what these documents really tell us about the network of influence that is quietly shaping our world. Let's get right into it.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to define what the Epstein class actually is. Then we'll get into the key players, the names that have been pulled from these files. After that, we'll dive into how this whole class, this network, really operates. And we'll finish up by tackling the big question. With Epstein gone, has anyone actually taken his place?
All right, let's start at the beginning, the definition. When you hear somebody use the term the Epstein class, what are they really talking about? It's a brand new phrase for sure, but it's pointing to a very, very old idea of how power actually works behind the scenes.
So here it is, the core definition that analysts have pulled from these documents. Look, this isn't just about being rich. It's about a specific kind of elite, one that's transnational, beyond borders, and hyper-connected. And they operate right at that sweet spot where government, finance, tech, and media all meet. But the real kicker is this. Their main loyalty seems to be to the network itself, not to the public or even to the countries they come from.
And this, right here, this is the crucial point. This isn't about Democrats versus Republicans or left versus right. The files show powerful people from all across the political spectrum. The real ticket into this club isn't what you believe. It's about getting access to the network, being discreet, and promising mutual protection. It's simple. You watch my back, I'll watch yours.
So where does the guy like Jeffrey Epstein fit into all this? Well, he wasn't the leader, not the kingpin. The sources all describe him more like a node or a broker. Think of him as the ultimate superconnector. His real value was his unique talent for bringing together these different worlds. Big money from finance, power from politics, fame from celebrity, and creating this space where they could all connect and help each other out.
Okay, now let's talk about the players. This is where it gets real, because these files give us a startlingly clear picture of who the members of this network actually are. And we are talking about a true cross-section of global influence. What's just staggering here is the sheer volume of contact. We are talking about the biggest names in technology. I mean, the files have over 1,000 references to Elon Musk, more than 2,500 for Bill Gates, and for Reid Hoffman, over 2,600. This isn't just a casual hello at a party. This points to a really deep and consistent connection to Epstein and his world. And the network's tentacles reach deep into the global economy. You've got JPMorgan Chase, which kept Epstein as a prized client for years, even though their own internal systems were apparently flashing red flags. Then there's private equity billionaire Leon Black, who paid Epstein over $158 million for what was described as services. The fallout even hit the top of the legal world, with Brad Karp stepping down as chairman of a huge law firm after his emails with Epstein came to light.
This slide really shows you just how broad this network was. I mean, it wasn't just about business. You see former heads of state like Bill Clinton and Israel's Ehud Barak, who reportedly used Epstein's connections to make deals. And then you even have the world-renowned scientist Stephen Hawking, who attended a conference on Epstein's private island. It just goes to show how Epstein collected access to every single corner of the global establishment.
Okay, I have to pause here because this is unbelievably important. The source documents say this over and over again. Just because someone's name shows up in these files, whether it's on a flight log, in an email, whatever, it does not automatically prove they were involved in anything illegal. A lot of the people named have denied any wrongdoing. The real takeaway here is about the existence and the nature of the network itself, not a final verdict on every single person in it.
So, we've defined the class, we've seen some of the players. Now let's get into the mechanics of it all. How does this network actually work? How does it use its influence?
At its core, money is the lifeblood of this network. And we're not talking about small change here. The Epstein class uses the world's most powerful banks to move billions of dollars. And they often do it with a level of access and a lack of scrutiny that you or I could never even dream of.
Just look at this number. It is absolutely staggering. While Epstein was an active client, JPMorgan flagged a little over $4 million in suspicious activity from his accounts. Okay. But then, after he died and the spotlight was on them, the bank went back and retroactively flagged over $1.3 billion. What does that tell you? It suggests that for these elite clients, the normal rules often get bent or maybe just ignored completely.
So how does a deal actually get done in this world? Let's just walk through a classic example from the files. Step 1, you identify a need. Let's say a foreign country wants to buy some high-tech surveillance gear. Step 2, you leverage the network. Epstein gets them access to both the political leaders who can approve the deal and the tech CEOs who can supply it. Step 3, he brokers the introduction, personally connecting someone like former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak directly with potential clients. And boom, Step 4, the lines between private profit and geopolitics completely blur. A business deal suddenly becomes an act of international influence.
So when you put it all together, when you zoom out, the pattern becomes crystal clear. This class uses its influence across so many different areas. They're shaping global finance. They're bending government regulations to suit them. They're promoting certain political leaders through these back-channel deals. They're getting in on the ground floor of new, unregulated fields like crypto. And they are absolute masters at blurring the line between philanthropy and the raw exercise of power.
And that brings us to our final section, the part where we look to the future. With Epstein, the central hub, the main connector, now gone, what happens to the network? Does it just fall apart, or does somebody else just step up and take his place?
This is the million-dollar question, right? It's what all the analysts are trying to figure out since these files came out. Is there a new Epstein, a new master connector pulling the strings for the global elite?
Well, the surprising answer, according to all the analysis, is nobody. There isn't a single person who has stepped in to fill his very specific, very unique role. I mean, the way he blended finance, secrecy, and that top-tier elite access, it just hasn't been duplicated.
And this slide really explains why. The network itself has changed. With Epstein, it was a centralized system. Think of it like a wheel with him as the hub in the middle. He was the node you had to go through. But today, the network is decentralized. It's more like a spider web. It doesn't need one single broker anymore, because all those connections have already been made. The class itself is the network now, and a web has no single point of failure.
And that leaves us with this final, really powerful thought. The system doesn't need a new puppet master. The Epstein class continues on because of its founding principles, that shared access, that discretion, and above all else, that mutual protection. The real successor to Jeffrey Epstein isn't another person, it's the class itself.